don't give a fuck.
Are you sure?
I just don't give a fuck.
Presenting The Art of Not Giving a Fuck with Garrett John.
Hey everybody, this is Garrett here with Lance again, and we're going to dive right in now to the promised podcast about the adventurer. So again, this is the Art of Not Giving a Fuck from Victim to Adventurer podcast. This will be the adventurer episode number 4. Last time we covered in quite exquisite detail a lot of stuff about the characteristics of the victim. Between last episode and this one, I had some thoughts about the victim. So we'll just do a little recap about the victim to show you guys how it leads naturally right into the life of the adventurer. And hopefully by the end of this episode, each of you listening will have some clues about the characteristics of your own adventurer and also learn exactly how you can get a taste of it, even while you're listening to this, and then from there, launch right into it. And like I said, we'll be exploring this from 1,000 different angles as we proceed because it's just colorful, fun, and majestic. In fact, this podcast itself is a expression of the adventurer mindset. We're just open-ended. We're going to explore this same movement from victim to adventurer in so many different ways that anyone listening will eventually find their way to it. So it's open-ended. That's the life of the adventurer. So first, again, what's the real goal? What is it you really want? Underneath all the different items, all the things that you've mapped your desires onto, what is it you really want? Well, we talked about that last time. It's satisfaction, a sense of success on your own terms, a feeling of excitement to face your day, and a feeling of drive and enjoyment and flow in your life. You know what to do next. You know how to bring the things you enjoy into your experience and how to enjoy the experiences life brings to you, even when they're shocking, surprising, or uncomfortable. That's a real key there too, because a lot of times discomfort is what sends a person running from the adventure life right back into the victim life. So the victim makes you pretend that you're safe. The victim is like setting up a tent with a less than a millimeter thin wall and pretending as if that's blocking out the outside world, which the victim is terrified of. The outside world is full of threats and catastrophes and attacks.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like the victim's afraid to die, so it lives like a zombie, and feeds on gossip and drama.
Yeah, somehow we avoided the word fear last time. I don't know how we did that because when we asked what's the why and the how of the victim life, because if you're in your conscious mind, you want to flow, you want to enjoy, you want to adventure. Everybody wants that. We know that because of movies like Lord of the Rings. I mean, why are they so huge? Because they focus on the shared desire of everyone in the world to be an adventurer going to throw the ring of power into the fucking volcano. You know, that's why these movies are powerful. You said it yourself in one of your songs, Lance, on the Tombstone medley, the Blinded by Beauty. Mm-hmm. You know, we hide it in the movies. We hide our true desires in the films. Even on the news. Why is the news so exciting, even though it's all destructive and weird and murderous? Is because it's something exciting. It's something that's adventurous. It's like, wow, something might happen to me one day. It won't just be the same trip to the office on the bus, you know?
Right. If you're willing,
so the victim, go ahead.
If you're willing to step into it, of course.
Exactly, and that's what this episode will be all about. So the thing with the victim, like we said, it makes you pretend that you're safe. And the interesting thing, as long as you've got your problems as a victim, everything feels normal. So even though it's high tension, high anxiety, high distress, high emergency levels, those become your norm. And so that when you start to relax, that to you is perceived as a catastrophe, is perceived as an emergency. So you see the victim has built up walls, invisible walls of tension and intensity, feelings, walls of feelings and thoughts. So the words and the images of catastrophes in the mind correlating with the feelings in the body, the trembling, the discord, the discomfort.
Yeah, that's an important point. As you start to make a shift or transition, there's going to be some perceived turmoil at relaxation, believe it or not. You know?
Right. And then fun. Watch how the people in your life start to argue against having fun.
Yeah.
Just watch. That's going to blow your fucking mind. And I promise you it will happen. Someone in your life will argue against fun. And at that moment, you're going to be offered a choice to start living a fun life or to continue convincing yourself that somehow having fun is bad or wrong or evil or morally incorrect or ethically to be avoided.
Makes me think of there's a reflex to try and like convince victims not to be victims, you know, like when you start to get a taste of relaxation, and then it becomes clear really quickly that most of the victims are not interested at all. In fact, they might attack you or assassinate your character. So you learn who to talk around and who not to talk around.
Yeah, exactly. For the adventurer, for a good example, a friend of both of ours really enjoys the dice walk. That's one of the adventures we got from Claude Needham's Just Because Club, and we put that in the Undoing Intensives and a few other places. The essence is you take a walk and you roll the dice at every intersection to determine which direction you'll go: forward, backward, right, left, or into a store for 5 minutes. And so you're giving up your own volition and putting it into the dice. And you roll the dice and you have your adventure. Well, that guy really enjoyed that dice walk and did it a few times. And then at one point he was hanging out with a friend in the city, and he thought, excuse me, he thought, oh, I have this dice in my pocket. This is such a wonderful gift I can share with this friend, like this adventure of the dice walk. So he pulled out the dice, explained it, and started rolling it on the corner. And no sooner did he roll the dice 3 or 4 times at each of the intersections than his friend just walked away and disappeared without saying goodbye. He just was weirded out by the entire adventure and had to disappear, you know. So that's interesting. It reflects what you're saying, is that you kind of got to be careful, like who are you going to take on an adventure with you. And when I used to hitchhike, that was a thing. When I hitchhiked alone, it didn't matter how devastating or bizarre things got. It was just me. I just had to handle my stuff and float through each situation. And there were really bizarre, intense situations, but they were fine. Now, if I was with someone who was a victim, they would have been dragging that situation on through, every step of the way. They've been telling me how terrified they are. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. So there's people I had hitchhiked with that it became a real issue, a real problem, and the victim mentality created situations that were actually kind of terrifying.
Right. Yeah. There's a transition that takes place if you find that you naturally kind of drift off into your own world, into your own waters, exploring. Because when you start to give up friends or acquaintances that have the victim mentality, you start to run into other adventures. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that happened. A good metaphor for that was rock climbing, going out to all these places to go rock climbing. And there's certain wilderness areas and designated spots where that's the known thing that's going on there. And it takes some effort getting out to do it. But I found, the people I would meet out rock climbing, we'd instantly have a bond, even if we didn't agree on anything else, which was that we're at this rock climbing place and we like doing this thing. We know it takes a large amount of intensity. So it's almost like these other people have gone through some of the same intensity you have, and then you can relate to them on that level, on this guttural, tangible, physical level, instead of like, oh, hey, we both like Radiohead, so this guy's pretty cool, Like you don't have to have so much opinions about things. You can resonate on a feeling level with other adventurers, And I noticed just now being in Colombia for the past 3 months, when I do run into other adventurers, it's really obvious. They stand out. They're not exactly part of the scenery, They're more like a functioning piece of my existence. They show up and they're glowing, I meet some of these people at hostels or out on the beach or whatever, and it's very easy to start a conversation, to have instant rapport with someone else who's aware and maintaining a level of intensity and enjoyment in their life. And they see your level of intensity, and they know by communicating they will increase their own joy, and the adventure gets bigger. They know that there's more opportunities around every corner. So that the interesting part of that is to be an adventurer, you end up having to tolerate a larger amount of anxiety, a larger amount of intensity in your body, what some people call stress or discomfort, which later can become excitement or passion or drive for you, motivation, whatever you want to call that. For example, we talked about that skydiving. One person could be a victim could be at the skydiving place complaining about the planes, complaining about the weather, complaining about the situation. They're cold. They don't have the right jumpsuit. And then they don't go skydiving. They just sit there complaining. But the adventurer has to tolerate a huge amount of feeling and intensity, and they get in the plane, and they may be just as terrified as the victim. I mean, when I say terrified, meaning they're going to have a huge vibration in their belly that's telling them maybe I shouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. Just like I had every time I went on some serious rock climbing adventures. Mm-hmm. You know, the victim inside. I mean, it's like it's still there, but you don't have to listen to it. You don't give a fuck about it. You tell it, I'm going skydiving, bro. And you leave that guy on the ground, but you have to maintain that higher level of intensity.
Yeah, you definitely build up a tolerance to higher levels of, I guess, what's called stress or energy in the body.
Exactly. Well, and the interesting thing is that most of the time, that stress or that intensity is locked up into the tensions, the chronic tensions in your muscles. So that's why you're not feeling it. It's just like you might have some low back pain from doing whatever type of work you do, and by the end of the day, you feel it when you lay down to go to bed or when you get home, but your body and your mind block it out of your awareness all day so you can continue functioning. It just lets you know, hey, we're going to deal with this tension at some point, and then it drops it out of your awareness. And then for a lot of folks that remain the victim, that tension stays there forever, and it becomes ever-increasing medical problems, which also help the victim to remain a victim because then they have a list of officialized complaints with doctor's notes.
Yeah, and doctors,
it's no different than doctor's approval of the problems. Yeah. Prescription pills and whatnot. And the interesting thing is it's the same as the doctor's note you used to get when you were in 5th grade so you could stay home from school. It's like you go to the doctor so you can avoid taking part in your life, so you can continue getting problems. And you'll see elderly folks too, like who will trade, complaints all day about, well, they had that thrombosis down there in the ankle. And, last week they tore open Bill's liver, It's like, thankfully, now we have the dialysis 3 times a week, or I'd almost run out of complaints. It's you get to this, and I'm not trying to. I am mocking, but I'm not trying to put anybody down. It's not even wrong. You can live your life that way. What we're saying is there is an invitation that's ever present from reality to you to step into what's actually going on in your life. That's the adventure that's already begun. The program that is already underway is your life.
So, it sounds like there's a lot of ignoring going on. You just stop paying attention, like we spoke about in the victim podcast, about letting go of that wall and kind of being on your way, and recognizing when you're in company of victims or wherever in your life with your family or wherever you go, you can start to feel where victimization is the bond of your relationships.
Exactly. And the fascinating thing is when you say the bond of your connections, of your relations, of all your relations in your life. And this is why, on some level, it feels difficult to overcome the victim, to transcend the victim, is because it's operating in every area of your life. And so you're going to have to face how the victim has constructed and built all these situations. And you might not like them. You might not want to go back to that job ever again, or you might not want to go back to that relationship ever again, or you may not want to even live at the house you're at. And I've seen people go through this transformation and literally go pack their stuff at the house they're living at and leave. That was the last time they went to that house. Mm-hmm. So that it can happen. I mean, your adventure is right there all the time, and it might be an extreme step. It might appear to be an extreme step for you, or it might be a series of small steps. Who knows how it'll play out for you?
It could be just gaining appreciation for everything that you have right now in your life.
Right. And the only thing that changes is on the inside even. Yeah, that can happen
because
too.
As much as we say that you may be parting ways with people, it may just be learning to appreciate people who have been there for you your entire life. There's no need to run away from things. You'll see how well you've been supported in your adventure to this point. So you can kind of understand. You can actually kind of empathize with people's victim because you know how hard it is to turn on your adventure. So you would never judge someone for staying a victim in their life because
Mm-hmm. And you might end up ignoring those people if they won't step out of the victim mindset. But again, there's no judgment involved. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just one way of perceiving your life. So again, we take the seriousness out of it first. Accept yourself how you are. There's no right or wrong, And then from there, the adventure opens the door. Indiana Jones was never really worrying too much about if he's right or wrong in each situation. He kind of knew what he was going to do and went forward and did it each time and adjusted things along the way when all the weird adventures presented themselves. And that's the fun of it. Before we get into really specific examples of the adventure and how you can tune into it or become aware of it in each area of your life, I want to describe again how that works. And the way that works, it always moves from victim to adventurer. So you have to bring the tension or the victim into your awareness first, if it's there. And by doing so, you'll dissolve its power. You'll see it and be disgusted by it or embarrassed by it. And then move in to the life of the adventurer naturally. So the way the victim works, it's inside you. Imagine this little homunculus-looking creature just inside you, like like an alien in there, grabbing hold, and the only thing it can hold on to stay in, to not be expelled and expunged from you, is by gripping onto the tensions in your muscles. So imagine the chronic tensions in your shoulders, in your chest, in your ribs, in your ass, and all these giant muscle groups gripping all the time. And the victim's inside just grabbing those tensions, holding on for dear life, and trying to just keep you gripped up, rolled up into a tight little ball so that you never have any more experiences that could be slightly unsafe or unsettling or even disturbing. And so what happens? Awareness kills the victim. And we talked about this during the first podcast, just when we said put your hand on your neck, and you feel right away, suddenly the tension starts to go away. I had all this extra tension, now it's gone. I put my hands down on my thighs. Again, the awareness just leads to relaxation. I can feel it in my knees right now. Everywhere you touch, everywhere you bring awareness, it automatically relaxes. Okay, so that's the metaphor we're using here, is by bringing awareness to the way the victim's playing out in your individual daily life, you'll automatically start creating and forging a way out of it. And sometimes that can happen really fast. So without further ado, we can go into some examples in these areas of our lives. So let's start with one that's a big one for people, which is relationships. This includes friendships, family, and then intimate personal relationships as well. So Lance, you got any ideas? Have you ever felt like a victim in a relationship before?
Yeah. Growing up, I really felt like a victim. I never felt comfortable around girls, and I didn't have girlfriends. I had got my first girlfriend when I was 23 or so. I didn't get laid till I was 20, and that was when I got picked up by two random strippers who were driving by and waved me into their car. But up until that point, I ran from women. I wouldn't let them touch my dick, wouldn't let them near my dick. I thought I had to have a magic dick before I could get in a relationship. I thought that I had to be the Superman before I could even get with these girls. But that incident when I was 20, and it just blew my world open, as you can imagine, right? And from there, it opened up my ability to start having relationships from a ground up. So I didn't need to be Superman anymore to have a relationship, because there was girls nearby who would like me for who I was, and we could relate on the level that we're both on. And there's people out there to go through these relationships with and learn about your bodies with and share with. You don't have to become someone else before that occurs to you. And that's what
Right.
that inciting incident taught to me. From there on, my approach to women was drastically different, because I started to meet the type of people. I realized they were right around me, the type of girls who could teach me about my body, teach me about my emotions, the way that I didn't know, because I thought I had to be someone else before, right? So yeah, that was...
Well, that's a great example. And that's a perfect one, because you could never have wished for that. You could have wished for something like it, but it would have been hard to sit and make that occur, man, I hope some strippers drive by and take me in the car.
Yeah, because it was, it was a giant weight on my shoulders, as you can imagine, right? Well, and my groin and my ass and everywhere. There's tons and tons of tension, a lot of just looming presence of, oh my God, I can't get over this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one. Excuse me. Well, for me in relations, I'll give another example. So yours was from the outside, like wanting to have relations, but or not even knowing if you wanted to have them. It was just a big, seemingly blockade between you and there, full of all kinds of conditions, like we talked about.
Yeah.
And suddenly you had an adventurous experience where none of those conditions mattered.
Yeah.
And suddenly you realize, oh, well, this is all available right now.
Well, and I would say that, like, if I had a 20-year-old me there, I would have pushed him towards the nearest brothel, with $500 in his pocket, and you can provide yourself with that initiation if that happens to be in your way. If you don't happen to be walking down the street and have strangers drive up and ask you to hop in their car,
Right. Yeah, you can actually take a step, and not like we're encouraging that as the only way, of course, because there's plenty of ways to have these experiences. But if that's something you're afflicted with, then by all means, then go out and take care of that. Take care of yourself, move forward in that area, and there's always a way, even if it's a way that's, like in this case, deemed socially taboo or unacceptable. None of that matters to you because, of course, you're listening to the Art of Not Giving a Fuck podcast. So if you practice the Art of Not Giving a Fuck, in that case, you say, well, this is a need. I want to go through this experience, and here's a way I can create it very easily, very quickly, and it will help me make a leap in my life, so I'm going to do it. And I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Not mom, not dad, not friends, not anybody. And so doing, you're going to have a lot of experiences that those people won't have, that do give too much of a fuck, that are injecting seriousness into everything. So for a personal example in my own life with relations, like we said, yours was kind of from the outside. From the inside, the victim will arise too. So you get the girlfriend. That's been on my. I used to be the victim, like I couldn't have a girlfriend, and then later I'd have girlfriends and be victimizing myself from that perspective. Oh, this person wants this and that, and I better do this with my life. I better do that, or I can't leave, or they're going to be sad, or I'm going to be too sad. So all these forces and ideas of I have to be with this person. So I would be in relationships and thinking that I had to remain in them, or that I was victimized by them, like somehow I was trapped in them. And it wasn't, it would take a while to start to realize, oh, this is a construction. I mean, yeah, I like having a partner. I like living a life and working with another person. But if I start to feel like I'm being victimized by my own construction, the victim won't see that it's his own construction. He would just continue to suffer through it. But the moment I became aware of the victim in that particular situation I'm thinking of from years ago, it became easy to leave in an instant. I just leapt right out of the situation, and that was it. No problem. But it took becoming aware of the fact, excuse me, that I had victimized myself. It took becoming aware of the fact that I had victimized myself in the relationship in order to get myself to leave. And it was painful and uncomfortable to confront that I was pretending that I couldn't leave. And then once I confronted that, I was able to, again, feel the pain, feel the separation, and go through it. But now, again, you see, to become an adventurer, you have to tolerate a lot more feeling because you're not allowing conflicts in your mind to be tied up in tensions in your body. Instead, you're feeling what life has to offer you every moment. And by feeling it, you dissolve it. By feeling it, you flow. You don't cling. You don't calcify. So you keep moving, you tune into what you're feeling. So in any relationship you're in, you guys listening, or if you want relationships, just feel what's going on there. Notice if you're becoming a victim. And every time you have to tell the victim the truth. No, I am not a victim. I'm not a victim. I can do something here. I can always do something. This is my life. I want an adventure. I'm going to have one now. And so by confronting the victim in that way, you open the door to adventure.
Cool. So I got a bunch of other stories as far as that topic, but I mean, we could probably go for days on that. So let's skip to the next one, whatever that.
Well, the next one on the list, first we covered some relations, the art of not giving a fuck, and seeing the victim moving to adventure in relations. And you guys can extrapolate into your own situations. And we'd love to see that in the comments and reviews too. Talk about this if you have a revelation while you're listening. Because it's beautiful. It's how this plays out for all different kinds of people. It's like a kaleidoscope. It can be all kinds of different situations. The next one on the list is in terms of sexuality itself. So I wanted to start that section with talking about a lot of guys that I've worked with have a real, they're desperate to have sex, desperate to connect, desperate to meet women. And they think it has to be this huge manipulated process, and they're kind of victimized by their own desire. They're trapped within their own desire for to experience sexuality. But the interesting thing is, while they're a victim, whether or not they end up meeting the woman, having sex, or not, they still feel shitty. So even if they get laid using all these seduction systems and whatnot, they feel shitty. Or if they don't get laid, then they feel shitty. But both ways proves to them that they're a piece of shit and that they're a victim.
They're being acted out by the victim compulsively.
Mm-hmm.
So, it made me think of you being lived, by those desires, and there's no freedom there.
No, there's not. So what do you think freedom looks like in terms of sexuality? In terms of, well, I can look at a million different ways, but how does the adventurer proceed? What if there's a guy listening who's just struggling to meet women? That's his whole drive, and he's even like putting aside all other, neglecting parts of his life because he's just so much wants to meet and seduce women.
I mean, that's the backwards part about it. He probably needs to not neglect those parts of his life, and care for his environment more and his body more, and explore things that he cares about and find other people who care about those things too, rather than chasing ideals and fantasies that got planted there by who knows when.
Exactly. And again, now we're talking about the feeling level. So for the victim can't even tolerate feeling a high level of anxiety or tension. So the victim's usually not going to do too well at trying to meet anybody. They're going to fumble through conversations, feel like an idiot, be judging themselves constantly, and trying to manipulate the other person into liking them. Now, why would you ever need to use pickup lines or tools to get someone to hang out with you? It's only because you believe that who you are naturally is not okay, not good enough. So you're going to cover it up with techniques. You're going to cover it up with manipulations. Mm-hmm. So essentially, the techniques you think you're using to find satisfaction in your life are the things that are in between you and satisfaction.
Yeah, it's a disguise for neediness and selfishness. It's lacking the self-respect and the acceptance of yourself, and you're immediately entering into a conditioned transaction. So it's doomed to failure, and it may be something that you need to do to practice, or just to get around a lot of different women, go to like a speed dating thing or whatever, just get comfortable in that environment. But eventually, I think you sooner or later you end up with a more organic approach to relationships.
Well, and where you're, like we said, you're adventuring. So the way the adventurer might pursue sexuality would be, well, let's say within the bounds of a relationship, the adventurer you could find a million different ways to explore. You don't have to fall asleep to the person you're with. So the adventurer in terms of sexuality within a committed relationship might mean one thing. It might mean practicing some undoing stuff together, or doing different adventures and unlocking higher and higher levels of pleasure or intensity, however you want to explore that. Or for someone who's not with anyone or doesn't want a committed relationship, then the adventure could be you go start improving yourself in different beautiful ways that you like, like go explore oil painting, go explore classes, go explore museums. And in the context of those, or hiking or climbing, whatever you want to do, in the context of those adventures where you're already winning, you're already doing something you want to do, then you'll meet people and you're at your best. They're at their best. You guys are doing something you both enjoy. You already have a topic to connect on. No pickup lines necessary. Yeah. And the deepest secret, the biggest key to meeting women or to getting clients in business and all this is to show genuine interest in the other person. That's it. Show genuine interest and listen. Right there. No matter if you're running you're running a lumber shop, a lumber yard, or if you're trying to pick up a woman on a dating site, or if you have clients online, or you're writing an ad, no matter what, just show that you have genuine interest in the other person you're communicating with, and they will open up their world to you. and they will show a genuine interest in you too. And from there, you can just navigate organically. Just be you, say the things that you say, and they, it's almost funny to say it out loud because of how simple and easy it is. But I don't think anyone's saying this shit out there. Everyone makes it so complicated. But it's really easy to be yourself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to believe anything. You don't have to think anything. And in fact, those things get in the way.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler than you might think. But the big do not enter fear sign pops up with that thing. It's like, oh boy, hey, whoa. I wish there was more conditions on this getting what I want.
Oh yeah. Well, and there's some people that lay down and just start doing the undoing breathing, for example, and within 5 minutes are like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know why, and they get up and leave. And it's like we talked about, there's no level of feeling. Haven't been feeling anything for so long that when they're presented with themselves, their own life force right there, it's too much to handle.
Yeah. And as far as sex goes, it doesn't hold the gravitational weight that it used to. I'm not, chasing my dick around all day, though. Mm-hmm. I appreciate and I enjoy the exchange of energy. It's not the centerpiece of my life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and something my teacher and one of our mutually enjoyable authors that we both have liked is Dr. Hyatt had said, you must become aware of the quest for instant titty in order to transcend it. You must activate it and feel it and leap into it. So you guys listening, some of you might be in different stages on this experience from victim to adventurer, but you may notice that there's some of you are caught up in that compulsion to this need to go meet people and get attention and be approved. And what I'll say to you is if you can start approving yourself, if you can start validating yourself just by thinking of, well, what would I like to do, and going out and do those things, you're going to get better results in all those other departments, even though you don't think you will. By letting go of this strong compulsion to always pursue sexuality, you're going to be offered opportunities to enjoy sexuality rather than be forcing them and manipulating them into existence to the point where you're excited to be there with the woman and ready to have sex, but you're also a little grossed out by yourself at how you managed to make it happen, and you wish she would leave, that kind of stuff. You don't ever have to end up in situations like that. So the next section on the list here we have is work and business. So, this is, the level of providing for yourself, where you get your income or your sustenance or your nourishment from. Now, a lot of people victimize themselves with work. A lot of folks I've talked to, they don't like what they do every day of the week, but they do it for 40 or more hours a week, and they can sometimes keep that up for years. And then sometimes the same thing with business. People get into business and then they create a structure, a prison that they live within, and it might support them, but it doesn't give them freedom, which again was the ultimate goal, that freedom to flow with your own life, with your own desires, to live on your own terms, to wake up when the fuck you want, to eat the food you want to eat, to do what you want to do from moment to moment, to not ask your boss if you can take a piss, whatever. So let's talk about that with work. I mean, I know you and I have some distinctly different experiences here, but also some of the same perspectives on it. So this should be interesting if we can cover a couple examples. And this will be a topic we cover later in detail. We're going to talk about work and business, for probably a couple different podcasts. So to scrape the surface right now, let's just say you can be working the lowest of the low shit job all the way to working for the best company in the world as a CEO, and you could either still be a victim or you could be an adventurer. I'll give an example quick, and hopefully this will help lead the way into our personal examples. There's this guy in Eugene, Oregon. There's a drugstore there called Rite Aid, and I used to go in there to get whatever, buy cigarettes or buy whatever they sell at the drugstore, get some water, little trinkets that you need. And this one guy that worked there, it was like the one drugstore clerk I've ever seen who was completely satisfied with that role. He had won in his life, and he knew it, and that he had reached the peak of his achievements, and he was reveling in it all the time. You'd come in, he would be smiling, even if all the other employees were down and upset. He just had this great smile. Come on, come into my line. Let me help you out. What do you need? He's marching around the store helping you, and he is he was the king of Rite Aid. I mean, you knew it when you walked in, and he was blessing you with he was knighting you just by talking.
Isn't that cool?
I,
When you run into people, he's like, that guy is the butcher. He was made to be the butcher. He was made to own the pizza shop. They're just where they are meant to be, and enjoying it,
exactly,
reveling in it.
exactly. And so the adventure doesn't have to be skydiving, rock climbing, traveling to Colombia, whatever. It can be.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's almost the easy way on some level. But the adventure can be the guy working at the Rite Aid, and he's so stoked that when he walks this path through the park every day, he's getting to work and he does his, he's just excited about all the things he's going to do. So that's one example.
I remember one time when, in my early 20s, I had this job for like 4 years, and they were giving me promotions, and I was like leading these little crews through this like computer wiring trade that I did, and I fucking hated it. And then I quit, and I started pursuing music a little bit, but then I ran out of money. My victim mentality was just killing me, so I was like, no, fuck it, I'm going back to the cable job. I'm gonna grit my teeth. I'm gonna I went and bought a fancy new car. It's like, I'm going to save up for a house. I'm going to, I was like, I'm not good enough to do what I want to do. So I'm just going to settle back in with that job that I hated. So I bought this car. I went back to the job, and I started working it for like 4 months. And then before, like, there was a volcano about to erupt in me. And then I quit again. And then I went on the adventure of going to university, which I thought up until that point was an impossibility, which led to where I am now, which is a whole other adventurous path, leaving my hometown and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. In my own life, there is a key story for me. It goes way back about work, and it was when I was working at a pizza place in Princeton, Minnesota. I must have been about 16. I was delivering pizza, and it was a pretty liberated job because most of my friends were working at different stores, and they had to be there all the time. I just had to hang out, wait for an order, and then go out and deliver that order, and I'd get to listen to my music. And there were no cell phones and things at that time, so it was like my freedom was out just driving around and finding this place. But it came up a time when my friends had tickets to see a play in the city, and for me that was this huge dream. I was like, I'd never seen a play before except for other people putting them on with drama class at high school. And so there was a chance to go see this full-on play down in Minneapolis, which was an hour away, and I was scheduled to work that night, and I knew it was kind of slow. And I told them, listen, I was so excited. I thought, oh, well, who would turn me down? There's a play tonight. I need to go to it. So can we just, I'm not going to come into work. And they're like, well, you don't come into work. That's the end of this. You have to come into work. That's how it is. And I just, some part of my mind has never been able to accept that that's the truth. They said, you have to be here to deliver these pizzas. And I thought to myself, well, who the fuck are these people? What do I want? I want to go see the goddamn play. So I don't care what happens next week. I'm going to the play. And I got in my car and went to the play. And that was the last time, except for when I picked up my final check, that I ever saw the inside of that, the back door, the kitchen of that pizza place.
Yeah, fucking amazing.
But what did I lose? I mean,
Yeah.
not much. No. And I got to go to that play, and that was one of the first steps of expansion. I drove to the city by myself and met with my friends and saw the play, and it was glorious, and I had a wonderful time, and I would never have traded it. But that could be devastating for a lot of people because, again, I had to feel this huge level of intensity, worry about what people or my parents were going to think about not having money, all these things. So that's an example in work. You guys can think of some of your own, but one of the ways is if you can see your work as an adventure already. There's multiple ways you can start moving up in your work. There's ways you can explore the structure of how everything in your work goes. Identify people who are hubs of power or hubs of leadership. Befriend those people, gain rapport with them, start serving their needs, and watch yourself rise, not only in that company but in the eyes of everyone around you.
And that's very difficult for the victim to see because it doesn't identify with certain things. It may be like, oh, I'm no good with money, or I'm no good at work, or I can't enter into that field that I want to enter into because all those people are smarter than me. All these silly ideas rather than just diving in and finding people who are in those fields and working through it and treating everything as as an adventure, as an initiation, whether it's like getting your master's, if that's what you feel like doing, or going and finding your dream job. You know, it's all just receiving what the environment's giving you and learning from it and adapting. And the more you transition into the adventure and leave a victimized mindset or sense of being behind, persistence is a natural byproduct. You don't have to worry about being persistent when you're pursuing things that you're passionate about. So
Exactly. Like if you're stoked on playing guitar every day, you're not going to put it off. You're going to go, well, I really fucking love playing guitar, but I think I'm going to set this aside and do something else. No, you'll it'll be in your arms before you know it.
Yeah, and doing something you hate and calling yourself lazy for it, or having other people call you lazy for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absurd. So, well, what occurs to me is we don't even have to cover every single detail of what the adventure is, because, of course, this podcast, most of what you're going to hear is recordings with adventurers and how they moved from victim to adventurer, and then also all the finer points, all the fun different explorations, all the cool caves and beautiful vistas you can find when you become the adventurer, when you become the hero of your life. And it's not become when you realize you already are. You're the center of your universe. You're right there listening to this. It's all you've got is your perceptions, your full immersion experience here. And so why not just dive into it? Because, the interesting thing, one thing that comes to mind, and so you'll be hearing more and more examples as we go into future podcasts. But for now, what I want to make sure we cover is that one hallmark of the adventurer is that the adventurer always lives in the here and now all the time. But an interesting point is, so does the victim. See, there's no way to escape the here and now where you live. That space around you, you can reach in right now. Just take a moment, reach around you, wherever you're listening. If you're driving, reach one of your arms out. This is you. This is your reality. This is where you live. This is where you can take action. This is the adventure already underway. Okay? So even if you're sitting there complaining, all you have to do is stop the complaining right now and think to yourself, what would be fun? And in that moment that you take action toward that fun, you become the adventurer. That's it. There's no easier way to put it. There's nothing else that needs to happen. There's things you can do that make it easier, and that's what we provide: training, sessions, courses, workshops. But really, all of that leads to the same place. It makes it easier and easier for you to let go of the victim, to access and enjoy the adventure. And that's why you undo and destroy the victim. Your natural state is the adventurer. It's who you are.
Yeah, I know from experience, it helped to have some guidance and some tools along the way, but ultimately, life is going to show you. So, Command Z's put together a lot of stuff, but your life and you with your control panel, that's where it starts and ends.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, in order to even use a lot of the Command Z stuff, you've got to start with self-acceptance, being okay with yourself, realizing that you're already safe, and that reality, the reality around you, the tangible, direct experience you're having is the primary source of information and the primary force in your life. Everything else is a storyline, secondhand or worse. Doesn't matter if the president comes to you and tells you something. Doesn't matter if whatever the expert on anything comes and tells you something. Yeah, they might be able to teach you something within a context, but your life is still the center of the universe for you. So nothing ever trumps that. Nothing ever trumps your direct experience. And that's how we can say with certainty, you are the hero. You are the adventurer. I recall when I used to listen to a lot of Joseph Campbell and read a lot of mythology, I would always be thinking like, oh yeah, Parsifal. Oh yeah, Indiana Jones. Oh yeah, Luke Skywalker. And again, it's just like people do with religion. It's off there somewhere in the sky, like somewhere out here in the world, there's an adventurer, and I admire him, and maybe I could take on some of his traits. But what those guys are trying to point out is, no, that's you already right now. You're on the adventure. And fucking stop wasting it.
Crazy. And I think that's something that that yourself and others have done really well, is putting people in the driver's seat and not getting lost in theory and mapping and concepts. It's just never ending. And I would say now, after having lived an adventurous life for a while, I actually, I do entertain some mapping and some concepts. And I am curious about how people, in the past have treated this subject, but I'm doing it from a completely different perspective than I ever could have had I only read about it. Completely different.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. And we talk about this. You can see that it opens the door to so many things you wouldn't allow yourself to enjoy or to entertain as a victim. So, for example, one minute we talk about some Eminem lyrics, and the next minute we talk about the LA Beast transcending the condition of the victim by eating a cactus on YouTube. I mean, the most bizarre ways this can happen. Or your own hero.
Yeah, they're beautiful examples. Like earlier we were talking about pro wrestling and the Ultimate Warrior, and there's inspiration everywhere, and it's not in exotic places. It's everyday people around you.
Yeah. I mean, to use the LA Beast example, he just takes regular food items and creates a little challenge for himself, and it ends up being hilarious and entertaining and fun. And he actually uses mind over matter and overcomes like his own limitations, even if it seems absurd. It's like, it's beautiful in the sense that it's just overcoming of limitations, even if they are arbitrary.
We hope to have the LA Beast on.
Yeah. So if you're listening out there, Kevin, LA Beast, we're ready for you. All right. So and one cool thing here about the life of the adventurer and transcending the victim is that this becomes eventually a permanent change. The victim is a habit. The victim is a role. The victim is a script that you've learned. But when those old roles pop up, that's when the undoing tools come in. You stretch your face, you pull your shoulders up, whatever you need to do. You scream into a pillow. But you're still the adventurer. Whenever you're doing those exercises, you're telling yourself, listen, the goddamn victim is grabbing a hold of me right now, and I'm going to scream the motherfucker out into the pillow. That's not a victim thing to do. That's okay, I'm here. This is my adventure. And if I can't feel the goddamn majesty of it, I'm going to make it so I feel the majesty of it. You get yourself out there into life and feel again. When you're sitting at home not feeling, that's an issue. That's an issue. So all the tools, they'll bring you back into feeling, whether you like it or not. And eventually you will like it, I promise. But this takes some self-honesty. The last thing I wanted to mention really here is some of the exercises we talked about. Maybe let's just do one together, and with the folks listening, we should always come back to some experience. One of them is you jump up and down and laugh as hard as you can. We won't do that one. You're not going to be able to see it. Sometime maybe we'll give you a video of that. But basically, it's simple.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, like, laughter is the lubricant of life. I mean, it can transition you from one place to another so easily. So, I mean, the exercise is simple. Just stand up, bounce around, laugh your ass off, fake it if you need to at first, start quietly, go nuts, take it where it leads. 5 minutes.
Exactly. And do it for at least 5 minutes. So you make sure you really force yourself to get into it. You can't fake it for the 5 full minutes. So by laughing, jumping up and down, something's going to change. But what that is, we'll let you guys experience for yourself. But what we'll do to help you experience it right now while you're listening, you can do this almost anywhere. And a lot of people say, well, I'm afraid to laugh out loud because there's other people in the other room listening. Well, I'll resolve that for you right now. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to think you're having fun. So if you're nervous, you might want to start your questioning right there, right at that point. What would the other people think if you had fun? Oh my God. So we'll remove that screen for you. And now we'll introduce the laughing breath. Actually, one thing, I'll put this clip up on where you find the blog post that this podcast is attached to. But from Breaking Bad, there was that great scene, and Walter White has arranged their escape through the lawyer, and he's going under the floorboards in his house to get the money to pay for the fake IDs and for the escape so they don't get murdered by the crime lord. And he sees that the money is gone. And he's like, where's the rest of the money? And the wife says, oh, I gave it to the guy I slept with so he wouldn't turn us in. And the guy's like, you see his whole reality collapse. He realizes that there's only way out is through the bosses, these horrible experiences that he was going to try to escape from. And the metaphor is perfect. And in that moment, he starts weeping. He goes, and suddenly he goes, and he starts laughing so hysterically that his wife is like, oh my God, what's going on? And then Of course, if you've seen the show, you know where it goes from there. But he does not lose. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think you gave away the secret there. If people had ears to hear of that transition.
Exactly. It's a beautiful one. So without any further explanation, we'll do the laughing breath and then a couple closing comments, a little taste of what you're going to hear on the next episode. And then you guys can go off into your day having some fun. So let's do it together. This is the laughing breath. And in the show notes, you'll see the instructions, but you'll remember it from now. There's 5 full breaths of ha, 5 full breaths of he, and 5 full breaths of ha. Okay, so we're going to do all those together. We'll do that, and we'll conclude the show with a few more words, and look forward to seeing and hearing you guys again next week. So first, we'll start with ha. So you take a full breath in. Ha, 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 ha.
See, I'm laughing that we're
really try.
I'm laughing that we're even doing it, right? It's just.
I know, exactly. And you really want to feel it in your belly. Use your body, move around, feel it in your face, and smile. Ha, 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 ha. Third breath. Ha, 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 ha. Fourth breath. Ha, 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 ha. And then the fifth breath. Ha, 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 ha. Already feeling all kinds of stuff in my chest. There's some heat. There's some movement. Now I'll do 5 breaths of he. And I wish you guys could see us. I mean, you can see it in our faces. There's no way to deny these grins. And then, and one more of he. And then my personal favorite, the 5 full breaths of even thinking about stopping makes me keep laughing.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Man.
So you go. There's your secret key. I always like to leave some of these out there. If anyone's listening and is really stoked about this, you just got your secret key. I mean, do that when you're feeling at your most down. Do that when you're feeling angry. Do that when you're feeling sad. Do that when you're feeling anything. The victim can't hold on. The terror can't hold on. The panic can't hold on. The fear can't hold on. And instantly now, I look around, there's the sun. I feel the heat on my skin. I mean, there's so much more richness. I mean, right here. And I was already excited about life. I mean,
yeah, you're floating out of your chair right now.
So that's a wonderful exercise. It's a real simple one, but really, but do it. Don't do he, but get yourself into it as best you can, and get better and better over time.
I think they were laughing. If they weren't laughing, I would check for a pulse.
Right, exactly, yeah. So if you are listening from the graveyard, my condolences. But if not, then that probably kick off your day. So to wrap things up, I just want to say, again, always the same path from victim to adventurer. We're going to simplify things. There's no need for most of the self-development, time management, religion, spirituality, politics, any of that stuff. All it is victim or adventurer. The choice is yours. And every one of these podcast episodes is meant as an invitation to you. Will it be victim today or will it be adventurer? Next week, we're going to explore that same path from victim to adventurer, but through the experiences and the lenses of another favorite author of ours, Robert Scheinfeld. He's going to help you outwit the victim mindset, sometimes in a single instant, to snap you right into the adventurer mindset before you know it. So look forward to that. I think you guys will have a lot of fun on the next episode. Lance, any closing comments?
No, I think the next episode, which I've listened to, is a lot of fun. It's always a good time to look through the world through the bust loose model, and I really like the way you put that, outwit the victim model, because there's no doubt that he does that. So, I mean, get ready for a ride.
Definitely. All right, folks, we'll talk to you again soon. Remember, choose the adventurer. Have fun.
And not a single fuck was given that day.